Steve, are you there? Surprise!
This is the biggest staff meeting we've ever had.
We've added some new staff and they've all come to celebrate your 25th anniversary at YSA.
Woo! All these people.
Are you surprised?
I am shocked at all these people. Some of them I knew when they were children.
This is going to be the most interesting and exciting YSA staff meeting you've ever attended.
This is definitely true. Look at Carlitos. Carlitos, I love your hair.
Thank you. Good to see you.
So thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming together. We wish that we could be all together in person, but of course that's not possible. But the silver lining is that we get to be with so many of you that are far away from us in DC. So Zoom always is great at bringing together people from all across the country and all around the world. And since Steve has been at YSA 25 years, he has a lot of fans and a lot of people that we've been so lucky to work with. So I wanted to kick things off just by sharing a couple of stories and then turning it over to all of you who would like to share some stories or memories or good wishes. And then at the end, we'll let Steve give some thoughts once he's had a chance to kind of take it all in after hopefully being surprised. But, you know, as I was thinking about things, I'm Karen Daniel. I'm our Vice President of Programs, and I've worked at YSA for almost 21 of the 25 years that Steve has been at YSA. So we worked together for a long time. And when I was thinking about some of my favorite memories and stories of what it was like to work with Steve, the first thing I thought about was, you know, as most of you know, for most of YSA's time, we were in offices over at 15th and L. And the way that our office was laid out was Steve's office, you had to kind of come in the door and go around a corner to see him. And I was thinking about how many times, usually late at night after the workday was done, I would walk down to his office and I would poke my head around the corner and say, hey, I've got this great idea. Do you have a second? And every single time I would do that, he would look up from his work and he would smile at me and he would say, sure, you know, what are you thinking about? And we'd go over to his little table in his office and we'd sit down and we'd talk about it. And, you know, like most good ideas, 95% of the time, it never went anywhere, but once in a while it did. But he always had great things to contribute and, you know, was always willing to kind of think big. And I think that's always been true of Steve as a leader in terms of just being willing to shoot for the moon and not being afraid to think big and dream about where we could go as an organization and as a field. And then at the same time, I was thinking about, and a great counterpoint to that is while he's always been happy to think big, he's always been so enthusiastic to look at whoever was right in front of him and always be excited to think about each individual person. And I was thinking about one time several years ago when Steve and I went to Syracuse for an event that we did with Hilton up there. And we got into the Syracuse airport late in the evening and we had to take a taxi to our hotel. And Steve was determined to talk to this taxi cab driver. Do you remember this, Steve? And this taxi cab driver was in no mood to talk. He was answering us with single words. He was tired, he was gruff. And I was thinking to myself, Steve, this poor man just wants to get us where we're going. You know, stop talking to him. Well, Steve kept talking to him. And wouldn't you know it, by the time we got to our hotel, this man had completely changed attitudes because Steve was so genuinely curious about him. We knew about his kids, we knew where he'd grown up, we knew about his favorite things about Syracuse, and it was all about because Steve was so genuinely interested in him. And I think that's always true wherever we go, whatever we do. There have been a few times as the event planner in the bunch that I'm trying to kind of move things along and maybe he's not going as fast as I would like, but that's okay. And the last thing I was thinking about was how a lot of you know I have boys ages 10 and 12. And so they've really kind of grown up at YSA. And when they first started coming in, especially during the work day, I would tell them, now you've got to be quiet because people are working, in the offices. Well, if Mr. Steve was there, inevitably, no more than 2 or 3 minutes, they would be having rubber band fights in the hallways. And here's one of them right here, photobombing you. And they would be screaming and running through the hallways with Steve. And I would say to our colleagues, I said, I'm sorry, there's only so much I can do. The mom discipline only goes so far. So all to say that he's always been young at heart. He's always had this wonderful playfulness. He's always taken his work seriously, but not himself seriously. And he's always really enjoyed the amazing people that we get to work with. And all of you definitely among those. And I would say that's probably the best part of what we do at YSA is all the fantastic people we get to work with. So that said, I'll turn it over to you and invite anyone who would like to share their own memories or stories. I'm sure Steve would love to hear them.
Thanks, Karen. That was great. And I love your kids.
Well, I can jump in if anyone's feeling shy and you might be wondering who I am. My name's Phil Piga. Steve is one of my very best friends and we spend a lot of time together. So I want to start with a compliment to all of you that he does so much great work. You all do so much great work that my first thought when we're together is I'm keeping Steve from accomplishing something great because he's just hanging out with me. When he's not with me, all these amazing things happen. And to your point a moment ago, of the many things I love about Steve, I think you said the word disarming, perhaps. That is completely the case. I tease him that he's willing to walk through, and he does walk through every open door. He really puts people at ease and nudges me out of my comfort zone to experience new things and talk to more people. And invariably, it's a great thing when I do. So I salute Steve. For those who don't know, he's just as amazing outside the workday. If that workday ever stops, then he is 9 to 5. So I salute my best friend, Steve.
Thank you, Phil. That was great. It's great to see your face.
You too.
Phil has been in my COVID pod, and we're doing a COVID pod walk tonight, even though we're not going to be wearing our masks. So we did about 10,000 miles over the last year. So pretty amazing. Wow, these photos are incredible. I love the one of the Backstreet Boys and then Siskel and Ebert. That's pretty funny.
Well, I'm happy to jump in real quickly too, because unfortunately I have to go on another business call, but I was so happy I had a couple of minutes in between so that I could be here. I too am a very close personal friend of Steve's and feel so honored to have been brought into the Youth Service America fold way back in the beginning. And Steve, I can't help but think of like that first office that we went into when you were just stepping in. I don't even think you had officially taken over the CEO role, but it is just pure amazement to look back and see all that Steve has accomplished. And I think, Phil, I agree. I mean, the integration of Steve's professional life and his personal life has really enabled that real passion and drive to just take Youth Service America to such tremendous heights. Whoever could have thought, from way back then. And I was so, again, very honored to be a part of the YSA Board of Directors for many years. And in my heart, I still feel like I'm part of the family and just—
You're still a donor. That's the most important thing.
What's that?
And you're still a donor, which is the most important thing.
Hey, everybody send good vibes for this company, Ion Skincare, to take off, and my contributions will be far greater. I'm very poor right now as a startup. A little commercial plug that will end up in more donations to ISA. Anyway, Steve, kudos to you. And this is a great moment to honor everything you've done, but most importantly, as Phil said, you as a person. Love you to pieces.
Thank you, Missy. Great to see you. Thanks for stopping in. I'll see you this summer.
I'll jump in because I'm one of the old timers, right, Steve? When you talked about people
Kathy, we've known each other for 1,000 years.
I know, 1,000 years. And it was funny. I was thinking when you were talking about the ones people you've known since they were kids, I thought it had to be me. So,
I've known your kids since they were kids.
you know my kids exactly. So it's just, first of all, it's just a beautiful time to come together with everyone and see all these amazing photographs. It just takes me back. And I remember Youth Service America when it was forming, when it was just beginning in the the 80s, the later 80s. So I've been around through that whole cycle, and I remember feeling really curious when this new guy took over. Like, who's this guy, and what's he going to do to youth service? I mean, honestly, like, who's this dude, right? And then it was you, and you brought such vitality and such, I mean, I don't think you've lost one beat in this whole time. The vitality that you bring, and the energy and the enthusiasm and the sincerity. I mean, this is, who you are. I know you're a lot more than this, but you're also just so much a part of this movement. And one thing I know that's true is that service learning and this whole idea of civic engagement is in great hands as long as you're still around, and youth service has been steadfast. So I just want to thank you for all you've done, and also just for the friendship over these years. We haven't been in touch lately, but I know at any moment I could pick up a call and pick up a phone, and I could reach out to you. And I hope that's true on the other, both directions. And I just want to congratulate you and all you've done, all the people here, for being part of your life. And just thank you so much. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathy. And thanks for your leadership. We've come a long way as a field, and you've been a big part of that. So thank you so much.
And I'm going to apologize if I have to jump out early.
I'll tell a quick story. So YSA had supported our charitable efforts at I Heart Hungry Kids for about a year or two, no, about 2 or 3 years before my oldest won the Sodexo Award. And we go up to DC for the award, and for him, and it's me and my wife and our twin sons, who at the time were, I guess they were they must have been about 10 or 9 or 10.
9, they were 9.
And we're at this formal dinner. I mean, everyone's really dressed up for this formal dinner. Big crowd, and we're at this table, and we got to meet Steve. We'd never, we put a face with the name finally. And I'm trying to pay attention to the talk, people that are talking and over dinner, and all of a sudden I turn around and he and the twins are just cracking up. Apparently, and Steve tells this story better than I do, but apparently he leaned over and asked the twins, what was the, you tell this story so well.
Well, I know the twins always like to brag about who's the oldest. And so I said, okay, guys, who's the oldest? And sure enough, the hand went up, and I was immediately told how much older, the older twin was than the younger one. And he had a big smile on his face, and typical of all my friends who are twins, the sad face on the younger one. And I'm the second brother, so I can kind of appreciate this. I'm not a twin, but so, he goes, I'm the oldest. And the younger one goes, yeah, I have to hear this all the time. And I said to the oldest, then why is your brother so much better looking than you are? And he says, well, at least I'm better looking than you. Which I thought was a terrific response back for a 9-year-old. Of course, his mother was really upset.
Oh, yeah.
Shows you how witty your kids are, and terrific. You're a great dad, Josh, and your kids are amazing. So.
Thank you. Well, it's rare they get to interact with adults that roll with it like you do with kids, and it really, it's being on the board. It has been great. Of YSA has been great for me, but it's also been an opportunity to get to know everybody on the team who really lives this approach of making sure that kids are engaged and active, and they're not just they're not just an afterthought. It's a real opportunity to engage with youth on a real level, and to see you cutting it up with the twins over dinner when you first met them. They first met you was it's like this infectious kind of upbeat attitude that we love, and I've really enjoyed working with. So congratulations on you don't look a year over 24, Steve. So
I started in middle school. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for all your leadership on the board as well.
Steve, Steve, I look at all of these photos and so many memories and familiar faces from so many years. And I think of all the great times we've had together. There was one photo of you and your Karen with my Karen, who is also on the call. And it just, so many fun times, but so many meaningful times too. And I think the friendship and trust in partnership, I always remember the time I called you. You were on vacation, and Monday was going to be your first day back in the office. And I called you on vacation. It's like, I need you in Burbank Monday morning, but I can't tell you why. And he goes, you can't tell me why? No, trust me, it'll be worth your while. And he got on a plane and he flew to Burbank and met with us. And that was a great experience. And then I will never forget our journey to the Taj Mahal when we were at the IAVI conference in India, in Delhi, many years ago, probably close to 20 years ago. And we went out to the Taj Mahal before flying home, which was an experience just getting there. So
2008.
congratulations on 25 years, Steve. You've made such a big impact on the youth of the world and the world overall.
Thank you, Jeff. And thanks for all your support at Disney and your support as a great friend. And you're in many of these pictures because you've played such an important role in YSA. So thank you so much.
Well, Steve, I'm going to jump right in to follow up on Jeff's, because I think some of my favorite memories that Jeff alluded to that are in some of these pictures, of course. And Jeff, I'm guessing that it was Miley's 16th birthday party, maybe that's why Steve came out.
It was.
So to be able to celebrate Miley Cyrus's 16th birthday at Disneyland with Steve and the youth and Karen and everyone, it was just such an amazing time, not to mention all of the fun and funny times with the teacher awards and dancing to all ends of the night. And then of course, just all that you've done with our Disney volunteers also in the past too, fun pictures from Philadelphia and just so many meaningful yet fun memories with you. So thank you so much for everything.
And thank you, Karen. You're always referred to as Jeff's Karen, but I like to think of you as my Karen too. And you are such a great dancer, and we always have a great time, at the Disney events. So it's not just all work. So that's the good thing.
Thank you.
Miss you, Karen.
Miss you too.
Well, I'll jump in. I'm a newer one, although the years go by, so I don't know how new I am anymore. All I know is I never got to go on any of these trips. But when I think of you, Steve, I think of all those things that the others have said. And by the way, I recognize this picture with Buzz Aldrin. That was at one of the Clark events. But when I think of you, I think with amazement at how fortunate we are and how blessed you are to have such a clear sense of mission and being so committed to that mission, even when there are bumps along the way. There have been years I know that I've been there that have been bumpier than others, but here you are, things are continuing to grow. You stay enthusiastic, and I can only think of how YSA would not perhaps exist today, but certainly wouldn't be the great success it is, would not have touched as many lives as it has if it had not been for you and your commitment and deep sense of mission.
Thank you, Walden. Appreciate all your leadership on the board and your wise counsel one-on-one with me. And it's been, terrific to get to know you. And it has not been that short a time now. You've been around now. You've got some years with us under your belt. So thank you. And thank you for including us, and also your work with, with Clark and And I got to meet Jeff Bezos and have a very nice conversation about kids with him. At that dinner, Jeff Bezos asked me, so tell me about kids today. And I said, well, you know, they like their parents. And he looked at me and kind of had this quizzical look on his face. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, you and I were brought up not to trust anybody over 30. And Jeff Bezos said, you know, it's so weird you say that. He said, I've got this gangly 16-year-old boy who just plops down in my lap on top of the newspaper when I'm reading it and gives me a kiss on the head and says, hey, Pops. And he goes, I would never have done that to my father. And I said, that's what kids are like today. They're incredible and very different than the way we were brought up. So Jeff and I had that great conversation thanks to you, Will.
Well, that's good. Well, I just want to add that I look forward to the day when board members can join you and the extraordinary YSA team in Disneyland World again. Yes.
And how about if original board members could join and go to Disneyland with you?
There is Saint Dorothy.
Hi, Steve.
How are you, my darling?
I'm great, and I'm glad that you are. It's such a pleasure to look at all these photos of you. You're so handsome. And you know, for other people to know, I was on the board back in the early 80s, and I've just always enjoyed every single connection with Steve at every single meeting and location. And thank you so much for carrying the organization back forward through these decades with your spirit and your loving energy and your kindness and your extraordinary commitment to the work. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure when I bump into you anywhere.
Well, Dorothy, we miss you in all of our national service meetings and, you know, your great leadership at Youth Build as the founder and the torchbearer and really the conscience of that field. You are one of the great social entrepreneurs and leaders in American history. And it's such a privilege to know you and to also, I love to claim that you're one of our founding board members and you wear that proudly. So you do us well. So thank you for all your support.
See why he always makes me feel good? He's just so good at appreciating people. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Hey, Michael.
So I think we're hearing a lot of how Steve has just been such an amazing leader and how YSA has had such amazing impact, you know, across the globe in the US for so many different youth. So I will echo that appreciation from all of us for the mission you've served. I will also just speak to, you know, at a very personal level. I think, you know, I interned at YSA and I had the chance to consult for YSA over the past few years. And on every single project, Steve has been such an amazing mentor, has brought me into every conversation as if, you know, I'm a peer with great ideas and helping me feel like I have a way to contribute to the mission. And, you know, even outside of the professional world, Steve has been a mentor, helping me figure out how to be a better civically engaged, you know, leader, how to get into amazing organizations and grad school programs. And occasionally he's led me into trouble. He forced me to go on a bike ride through a massive hailstorm where all of my stuff was like drenched and see-through by the end of it. But, you know, he's very fit and strong and fast. So, you know, I think he thought we'd just get through it quicker. But, you know, I think every experience with Steve is such an amazing opportunity to learn and to grow, even as an individual outside of the amazing work he's done for the world. So thank you again, Steve, for everything.
Thanks, Michael. I've known you since you were a teenager as well. And it's a privilege to watch you grow up and now see you at Wharton and Harvard in a joint degree. And I'm so proud of you. And I know that you're going to continue on and do great things in the world. That's what you're set up to do. And I have every faith that I'm just going to continue to enjoy, you know, both mentoring you and also being mentored by you, because you always keep me up to speed on what's going on in the world. So I always look up to you in so many ways. So thank you for being here today.
Hey, Steve, this is Rhonda. I'm going to pop in for just a minute. I'm going to pop in and say hello because I have to get off for another call too, but when I think about you over the years, I sort of think about the Pied Piper. You lead us all in such joy, frankly, on an important mission. And I'm so grateful to know you and to have known you all these years. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Thanks, Rhonda, and obviously much appreciation for your advocacy for us at the corporation and our work on MLK Day, especially. I mean, MLK Day wouldn't exist without you at the helm, for the last umpteenth year. I know that it's you have been that flame to keep it alive at the national service level, and it's just been great to be working with you. So. Always appreciate being around you, and that great Southern accent of yours is always brings me a lot of joy.
Thank you, and I'm loving all these pictures. It brings back such wonderful memories and really important statement about your work and your service over all these years.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Hey, Steve, I'm gonna jump. Oops, sorry.
Oh, no, it's David Payne. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, David.
I had to jump in. I mean, I can't believe it's been 25 years. Boy, you and I are getting older.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take a moment to thank you for everything you've done to help us launch 9/11 Day as well as grow it, particularly with young people around the country. And to this day, I'll never forget that 2003 press conference that we had at the National Press Club, where we literally couldn't get in the door because there were so many media there. And, you and May Cobb from at the time Points of Light, who's now over at United Way, you were two of the early adopters, when Jay and I and some of the family members came in to visit with you. And we had this idea of trying to transform 9/11 into a day of doing good and flip the narrative of it. And you just embraced it wholeheartedly. There wasn't any question about it. You helped walk the halls of Congress with us. You introduced us to David Eisner and so many other great people. And I mean, we knew nothing. We came to Washington, D.C., and we thought that making 9/11 a day of service was a no-brainer. And I think you were among the people that told us there's no such thing in Washington as a no-brainer. So, but anyway, I just wanted to make sure I took a moment to thank you for everything you've done for us and for the 9/11 community over these many years, Steve.
Thanks, David. They made a big mistake. They gave us the smallest room at the press club. In fact, we needed the biggest one. There was just so much interest, and again, you have carried that flame, for now. It's hard to believe how long it's been.
Yeah, the 20th anniversary this year, hard to believe, coming up.
20th anniversary, and boy, did that time go by fast. I remember looking out the window of YSA and seeing women running up 15th Street in their stocking feet because the Secret Service had said, take off your high heels.
Yeah.
And, and you've kept that memory alive with the families. And remember, Alice was with us, and of course I knew her son. He was a brother of mine who's crashed the plane down in Pennsylvania, in order to keep the terrorists out of DC. So I just think of all these connections between Mark Bingham and you and 9/11 and how it keeps going. And it's great to see you, David. Thank you for your kind words.
Well, you have a great anniversary.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve, it's Patty Hall.
Hey, H2O for life, baby.
Yeah, well, it's great to see you, and you probably don't remember, but I remember coming to my first service learning conference as a teacher and learning so much from attending all the sessions that you were giving, and then became a nonprofit the year later. And have just really enjoyed knowing you and learning from you. You were so helpful, and I hope we can continue working together for a lot longer.
Thanks. Well, I got your nice email with your announcement about a new leader, and I know you're not going to stay very far away, but I also know that you and I have a great passion for Africa, and that we share that, that old line, Africa gets under your fingernails. And I think for you and I, we just will always go back to Africa. And while we've never been there together, it's always great sharing memories of that. But your work and bringing water to the people there has just been invaluable, and the way that you get so many kids interested in understanding it, it's just remarkable, Patty. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm still looking for that water partner that can make us work together.
I know. I know.
It's going to happen.
Somebody.
Thanks. Have a great a celebration, not a retirement, for sure.
Thank you. Not yet, right?
Hey, Steve, I'll go ahead and jump in. How are you doing?
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Good to see you. Congrats. This is so exciting.
Snorkeler.
Right back at you. No, I think in realizing this was your 25th anniversary, I think it's been 10 years since we first met at the Service Learning Conference over whale sharks at the Georgia Aquarium. And it's been such a pleasure to have the chance to be part of the YSA family and team over the years, and to collaborate with you and serve on the youth council and the board of directors. And I've just learned so much from your passion for this work and dedication and mission focus, as the others said, that has helped shape my work in this field, and kind of going through high school to college to now having a full-time job working in youth-focused nonprofit programming. But I think for me, the kind of stories that stand out, and to Kathy's point earlier, thank you for always being there as a friend, a colleague, a mentor, always there to pick up the phone. And that sometimes included phone calls. I think when I was taking a group of about 10 students from around the world from New York City to DC at 3 a.m. on a train ride to go to the White House, and Steve was the one I could call and say, hey, can they all come at 8 in the morning and kind of camp out in your offices and change clothes and figure out they can't walk a long way in high heels, and get it all sorted out before they go. And it's never a hesitation, and it's always a yes. And that's been so true over the last decade, and so grateful for your just support and guidance in this work. And to the connectivity piece that you bring, I think, I remember we had lunch one time in DC, and you just kept, I don't know if it was intentional or planned, but you sat on the street corner and pulled over like multiple people that passed down the street that you knew, or that like ran an education program software company or whatever it might have been, to build connections and network. And I think those are lessons I always take away from you and the work that we all do together. So it's just an amazing milestone. Congratulations, and thanks as always for all you do.
Thanks, Sean. And your leadership in the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit, and bringing literally hundreds and hundreds of young people to Sarasota, and giving them an opportunity to share what they're doing, across the United States and around the world, has just been invaluable. And you and I share a great love of the undersea Goal 14 and the SDGs, life underwater. And I just got back from an amazing trip to Cocos Island off the coast of Costa Rica, diving with all kinds of sharks, more sharks than I've ever seen in my life. And I know you're one person that would have truly appreciated being there with me. So someday we will dive together.
I was gonna say, we're gonna have to plot a YSA dive trip reunion at some point, for sure. But that's awesome. Thanks, Steve.
But thank you, Sean. It's great to see you. And yeah, I've known you since you were a teenager also.
Crazy, goes fast.
I'm going to jump in if that's okay. I just appreciate how you have always looked for ways to incorporate youth in panels and programs and presentations. And I always was dragging the FCCLA state officers over to your offices to make sure that they got the connection of what they were doing in the state level with what you were doing at the national level. You always seem to have, I look at all these pictures, you always seem to be reaching up to reach out to people, but you also reach the students and make a point to incorporate them in what you do. And we appreciate that so much. And I'm so glad that you learned what FCCLA stands for, and that we have this organization that has a big infrastructure that can do service learning. I reflect back on some of these pictures, and I think I remembered being asked by the Lieutenant Governor in Minnesota to lead a group to come out and testify to Congress about service learning. In the very beginning, it was a Congressman Kennedy, and we got a chance to go to the White House and meet the Bushes, at least Barbara Bush and Millie, the dog that they had at that time. And I brought a video camera from the Department of Ed and a tripod. And so we got to the testimony room early, and the students had prepared what they were going to say. So I was going to videotape this, and I'm set up and they say, which network are you with? I said, I'm with them, the youth. And so they didn't realize that somebody could bring in a camera and just set up next to them, but it was kind of funny. And anyway, in the early days, I think we have been a lead state agency for every year except maybe the first year. So we appreciate that, and appreciate what you do to make all the connections happen.
Thank you, Wendy. You've been such a perfect partner, and you always connect us, as you said, to your young people. And of course, Minnesota, there's something in the water there, as I always say to Mike. I don't know what it is, but it's an amazing state, and I think you represent it well. So always appreciate your leadership and your friendship. Thank you so much, Wendy.
Well, and Mike was one of our youth leaders. That's a little secret about his past. He was a FCCLA state officer, so we always like to connect with him and see what he's up to.
Mike's done it all.
Yep. So thanks.
Thanks, Wendy.
Hey, I'd like to jump in.
¿Cómo está?
Oh, yeah, everything's good. Well, I want to share my favorite story with Steve. And okay, this is the best. We had just met like the day before, and it was in 2018 in October, and we were in Menlo Park because we were at Facebook for an event, and we also got an invitation to go to Google, and we decided to go to Google because Kim Kardashian was speaking, and in a million, like there were a million signs that said no photography, no photography. And in the middle of like the presentation where Kim Kardashian is speaking about mass incarceration, Steve gets up in the middle of the room and pulls out his camera. And I looked at him and I was like, Steve, no. And then security looked and everybody like turned to look at Steve, and I was like, it was by far the best first impression, or like second impression ever. And I mean, I'm so blessed to have met Steve and to just receive your mentorship. And more than that, just the friendship. I think that has been the most valuable thing. It's especially in a time, of 2018 where I had a lot of lows in my life. So yeah, you mean so much, and this means a lot. Hello everyone, I'm Carlitos. I don't know anyone here except for Steve and Michael. But hi. So thank you, Steve. I know that in the past few years you've done incredible eye-opening, you've provided incredible eye-opening lessons to me, and I can't imagine all that you've done for everybody here. It's so amazing, so thank you.
Thank you, Carlitos, and my best to your parents, who I adore. And you're a Parkland survivor, and you bring an authenticity to our work and represent, the kids that were in that school on that horrible day, and all the trauma that went with that. And you've been just a remarkable advocate for gun violence prevention and bringing your own, unique leadership, as an immigrant family from Venezuela who came to find the American dream. And what did you discover? But, you went to one of the best high schools in America, which then became one of our worst, gun shootings. And you've taken that and tried to make something good out of it. And I so admire, your tenaciousness and the virtue that you bring to it. So it's always a joy to see you and to work with you. And I know you'll do great things in the world. But it's always good to see you.
So good to see you too. Also, my mom says hi. She,
Oh, good.
yeah, she's working, and I told her that I was joining, and she said, make sure to tell her
She
congratulations.
owes me a dance also.
And karaoke in service.
Exactly.
I'm gonna jump in next because one of our favorite YSA parents is here and she tells me she has to go, but she wants to talk to you. So Shisha, go ahead.
Hey, Steve. Hey, everyone.
How are you?
Congratulations. I'm doing great. I want to hop in and say hi. I want to thank you so much. I saw Grace's picture just a moment ago, and you not only inspired me, Grace, and the younger one, Sharon and Eric, all three of them, you inspired so many people in our circle. So I told everyone, I said, what you told us in one of the meetings says, for youth, as long as you are doing service, does not matter whether you are asked by someone or you are just on your own, as long as you do from a very young age, you will do all your life. That's absolutely true. So Grace was like in 2010, he was the Warford Award winner. After that, Sharon and Eric was very little. Eric was only like how many years old? I forgot. But anyway, so they all got into service. Now they're in college, in medical school. Their favorite activity is service. Like Eric is a sophomore in college. So he has an organization says CS for social good. I'll forward you the link sometimes. So
Yeah.
he's doing service all the time because they got the idea from Youth Service America. So the whole Youth Service America really inspired not only our whole family, I think the whole nation in doing service. I want to thank you from a parent, and I want to thank you from all the other parents.
Well, thank you, Shishan. And you are the mom extraordinaire. You have 3 beautiful children and 3 such loving and giving children. And by the way, congratulations to Grace. I guess her book just got bought by Netflix to be made into a movie. I mean, again, here's somebody I've known since she was a little girl, and now she's selling novels to Netflix. So it's remarkable to watch their progress and to know that they will always be givers and not takers, and players and not spectators. And I give that tribute to you. You are their champion, and without adult champions, we could never do our work. So thank you as a representative of all the moms across America.
And thank you so much. Yes, Grace, absolutely. She's so happy about the book. And also Sharon, she's working at Capital One. So she will be in Virginia. And she is championing the service in her company as an associate. So I just want you to know that. Oh, thank you so much again. I'll pass that to someone else. I know the time is tight. Thank you again.
Please give my best to all your kids.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Well, Steve, would you like to take a turn after all these good words?
Oh, I think I've said plenty, in listening to people. I try to respond to each one. I see Ian is still there, and I'll just say Ian's, one of my favorite former staff members, and has continued to be a donor to YSA and get his own kids involved. He didn't have kids when he started at YSA, and but he's continued. I think he drank the Kool-Aid, and that's a great thing.
Well, I'll take the chance to speak. I was trying to figure out some way to get in without interrupting. But I was at YSA, I guess, about 15 years ago, just before my oldest was born. And it was an inspiring place to work. I came there right after the Peace Corps, where I'd done my time in service, and it was inspiring to see other people and the work that young people can do. It was always just the best place to be and the hardest place to be at the same time, because it was so exciting to see what people did, but it was so hard to think of what you had not done. By the point you were in your life, it was 10 o'clock in the morning or 9:30, whatever time I got to work at. And I hadn't done the million things that I was reading about, the young people that we were, working with, the people that were on the board that were 10 years younger than me, or more like 20 now, or had, you know, kids who had worked in countries building schools and all these amazing things. And it was an inspiring place to be and work, and somewhere I still, I'm glad to be a part of, and hope that my kids can be inspired by service and service learning and all these things. So just happy to hear about your time. And one of the things that I was seeing as the slides were going by was things that were happening 25 years ago. And it talked about President Clinton was in office and a few other things. But one of the things I did notice was that it said Tamagotchis were very popular. And I just went downstairs and stole this from my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter. And so they're still popular 25 years later. So what's old is new, and what's new is old. So hopefully that's true for all of us, along with Tamagotchis and everything else, that 25 years later will still be, you know, inspiring others to do good things and be a part of what's important, and having, you know, everyone's telling about the work of young people that you and your organization has inspired, and that I did a little bit of 15 years ago when I was at YSA.
Thanks, Ian. It's great to see you. Appreciate it.
Steve, this is Mike. Sorry for coming in so late.
Hey,
One
Mike.
of the other things that maybe isn't as popular now, but that Steve was definitely passionate about, was Backstreet Boys in the 1999. And putting together the Backstreet Boys Millennium Tour and mobilizing thousands of young people in 42 cities for service around that. So, Steve, I've always admired your tenacity, your passion, your energy, and I've carried that with me throughout my career from, you know, the time that we worked together at YSA. And I gotta say, you know, you still have that ability. And it was so funny because about, well, exactly 5 years ago now, I was at my son's high school graduation, and the special speaker at the high school graduation was Steve Culbertson. And I was like, what? And
you were in the audience.
Continue to inspire people wherever he goes, whether he's in Russia or South Africa or in Vienna, Virginia. I actually just got off a call where we were talking with our new administrator at USAID, Samantha Power, and 5 young leaders on climate change. And she wanted to hear what their vision for taking climate action was and partnering with USAID. And, you know, the spirit that you have promoted and YSA has promoted for so many years has taken a long time to seep into major donors, I think, but really is getting there. And I know that Ambassador Power is incredibly committed to, like, we're just launching our Global Lead initiative on leadership and education for advancing development to mobilize 1 million young change makers over the next 4 years. And so thanks to all the ways that you've planted seeds all around the world of getting new infrastructure for service and the streams of service, and the different ways that young people are really leading on development with us. So.
Thanks, Mike. Well, I'm always proud of your amazing accomplishments, both in the Peace Corps and USAID, and what you've done for youth in terms of the work in our State Department through all of your leadership there. And you know, you're such an amazing, you know, again, torchbearer for this work, and your own children, again, who I've known since they were born, have now all gone into the world and done incredible things. And your wife is now working for the White House, and you know, and you're continuing your great work around the world. And it's the McCabe family is remarkable, and you are the patriarch, and I'm so proud that I got to work with you for 5 years, because it's an amazing influence, all of you. It really is. It's incredible, Mike, and your friendship means a lot. So thank you.
Thanks. Here's a funny real world story. So when I started, I think Karen had just started this time too. Our youth board member was Jared Genzer. And Jared was in law school. He wasn't even in law school yet. He was our youth board member. And my son he's in this program called the Truman Scholarship, and they were applying for for internships for the summer. And he calls me and says, yeah, I'm going to do this internship with this incredible human rights lawyer who gets political prisoners out of jail around the world named Jared Genzer. And I said, Jared Genzer? And I looked him up, and sure enough, it's Jared Genzer from YSA. And Jared is now, you know, one of the leading human rights lawyers in the world. And so my son, who, as you know, Steve calls him Patito, is getting, he's going to be working with him this summer. So yeah, and
that's great, Mike. And it's funny, again, I've known Jared since he was a teenager, and he called me up and he said, my wife and I are hosting a fundraiser for Pete Buttigieg for president. Would you participate and help us? And of course I said yes. So it's great to see these young people grow up and remain change makers the rest of their lives. But yeah, Jared is a superstar in the human rights world, and it's kind of hard to believe he's in his 40s. Although I see Karen Davis there, and Karen was one of our early supporters at Hasbro. And that was, you know, Karen looped back and became a leading supporter again the second time around. And actually Hasbro is still a supporter, but it's fun to think back on all these kids that, you know, went through our pipeline and where they ended up, so.
Well, I wouldn't have missed this. I'm sorry I was late, but I was trying to jump off another call so I could at least say hi and say congratulations. And it's so fun to see my old friends on this call. But yeah, you know, Steve, it's nice when you get a moment to reflect on the impact that, you know, you've been able to make. And you think about all the programs from Jackie Waldman days, right? With,
yeah. That goes
Teens
back.
with the Courage to Give, and all of those kids, they're not kids anymore, Steve, they're really old. Yeah. And what I know, right? And what they're doing. I mean, it's an incredible life of service and enormous difference you've made. And most of it, you'll never understand the impact or ripple of. Yeah. But we're blessed, right? Those of us on the phone that have been able to live a life of service to others. We're really the lucky ones. So I just wanted to jump on and say congratulations and say hi to all my old friends. Hi, Mike. Hi, Karen. How's everybody doing? Hi. Oh, so thank you.
Thank you for bringing all the resources of Hasbro. It's an amazing company and a perfect partner for YSA. And I still have my Mr. Potato Head that you gave me 20 years ago. So.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen much of him lately.
Yeah, sure. Well, we miss you.
Well, I'm having fun cooking up trouble over here, so.
There you go. There you go. Look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, and your many travels. Oh my gosh. I want to be Steve when I grow up.
Good. Well, thanks, Karen. I appreciate it.
All right. Be well.
Thank you.
I love that people keep joining us, keep coming in. And if you've just joined us, you're welcome to share any Steve stories or memories. That's what we've been up to.
Eric, your ears must have been burning because your mom was just on. We were talking about you.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Steve. Great to see you again. It's been some time.
How are you guys?
Yeah, we're doing well. Eric is taking the year off from Harvard, so he's doing some cool like social impact work right now.
Nice.
Yeah, and you know, we're all at home, so just having fun here. But it's good to see you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, and thank you guys for all your amazing work as young children and now adults, and continuing to be change makers. It just makes all our work here that much more, you know, exciting and valuable and meaningful, frankly. You know, just knowing what you guys are doing and will continue to do the rest of your lives. It's you're just such great examples. And as I said, your mom is just such a great champion.
I think really thank you. I mean, it's been so, you know, inspiring to be able to be a part of the YSA community. I think, you know, it's a big reason why all of us are so interested in service, and why, you know, even from a young age, we felt encouraged to be able to, you know, go and try and make an impact. So really, yeah, hoping we can, you know, live up to the big YSA name, and we can, you know, do something similar. But yeah, Steve, you're really you're a role model to us all. And yeah, thank you for all the hard work you put in to support people like you.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you guys, and I appreciate you coming by to say hello.
Yeah, it's great seeing you.
Just want to congratulate you, Steve. I concur with earlier comments about how the impact that you've made and all of the things that you've done over the years has just been incredible. And for those of us who believe in young people, I'm old enough now that I don't remember young people. So that's one of the challenges. Although I was just kind of smiling because it's just as you were talking to Eric, I said there must be something about the namesake because I'm working with a 10th grader in Minnesota. His name is Eric Lee. And he's involved in all kinds of civic activities and trying to start a youth council with our city council. So there is a connection between older people and younger people. And so I, again, thank you and Mike and all of the people, as I said in my little video message, that when you have the likes of Kilsmeyer and John Bridgeland and others who made such an important impact, endorsing you and complimenting you, that you should feel so proud of the work that you've done. And just want to thank you again and hope you have another 25 years.
Thanks, Rob. It's great to see you. And I've known you since the start, and these past few years, you've actually become a donor, not just a leader. And we appreciate the support you've given us to expand youth voting around the country. And wow, did we ever set a record this year for the most number of people voting of young 18 to 30. And your leadership was just hugely important with that. So thank you.
Well, it was more for you. And of course, young people didn't make any difference in this last election. So that's too bad. But thank God you did the work that you did.
They call him Uncle Joe.
Yeah, but great. Be well and
thank you.
Enjoy the time and all of the compliments from all of your friends and admirers.
Thank you, Rob. Okay. Your honorableness, I see your face.
Hello, Steve. I just thought I would join for a minute to acknowledge you. This is the way I'm going to put it. For those of you who don't know, I'm Neil. I'm out in Arizona, so we don't save daylight out here. We have no daylight saving, so I was a little late to the event. We have plenty of daylight already in Arizona. But I wanted to say that you have been the dad of YSA. And what I mean by that is you have brought your dedication professionally, and ongoing dedication to the mission, to the work, to the profession that you have brought. You brought all of your abilities as a CEO and as a leader from the beginning through 25 years. You could probably do the TED Talk on CEO growth over decades of service, which is an important one, especially for young people to hear about. But I think more than anything, you brought and instilled the desire. So dedication, ability, desire. You instilled the desire in, and I'm glad I got on in time to hear a couple of these folks talk, in more than probably a generation of people to be committed to the community and find what their path to community service might be, from while they're a youth until while they're an adult and now even parents. So your dedication, ability, and desire as a dad of YSA, 25 years. Quite honestly, I don't know anybody who does anything for 25 years anymore. So it's to be congratulated and acknowledged and appreciated. And from all the way out in Arizona, certainly wishing you well and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Neil. And you've been a great sounding board, as a fellow CEO and I think 5-term mayor of Tempe, and frankly a great service advocate through Key Club, which has always been a great partner of ours, in Kiwanis, which you maintain a strong relationship with today. I know that service set you on the path to both public service and now the work that you're doing with Greater Phoenix leadership and really trying to turn Arizona around. It's been a fascinating week to see the people of Maricopa County standing up for integrity, and I know that you have their backs, and that's tough. You're a former Republican, now a Democrat, but you play both sides well and understand, I think, the importance of a strong two-party system And I know you're going through some tough times, and I just hope that we've done a lot of work in Arizona, and I hope the young people that are growing up there are going to land on the right side of history, because we've got a lot of work to do as a country. And I know Diana Vive probably, I think, jumped off, but you know, the work she's doing around democracy and restoring democracy is so important, and I want to get her together with you at some point.
Sure.
They need all those kinds of advocates.
So I have some questions because I
So
Right.
thanks. I'll see you soon, Neil. How did all these people get invited, Mike?
Some random bird just kind of went around in our ears.
I'm a little worried.
So I'll bookend Karen's opening comments. And you know, I was thinking about the photo that we found when we were moving offices a couple of times ago of us on stage at the Mall of America for National Youth Service Day in Minnesota in 2003.
Wow.
Which I had not remembered that we actually knew each other before we knew each other. But just goes to show kind of how you pop up in so many lives, you know, at different stages. So little did I know in 2003 that high school senior Mike would go on to work for you for 14 years. I think, you know, the comment that Karen shared of kind of always saying yes to good ideas, you know, strikes really true. You know, I don't think I've ever heard the word no out of your mouth, as long as it's, you know, a thoughtful idea. And sometimes you're saying yes is even when many of the rest of us are saying no. I was remembering, maybe 2012, you had brought the idea of the National Child Awareness Month Youth Ambassadors.
That didn't go over too well with the staff, did it?
And it did not go over well with the staff. And I was at a conference, I think the Boys and Girls Club conference out in California, and this emergency staff meeting got called. And you know, I was out of the office, kind of out of the loop. And so I was like, all right, I guess I'll call in and see what's going on. And 2.5, 3 hours of complaining from everyone about all the reasons this program couldn't work and why we shouldn't take it on. And, you know, I was, you know, between bad cell reception in an exhibit hall and not really feeling all that strongly either way, you know, I was just kind of passively listening in. And, you know, you very calmly heard from everyone, went around, addressed every concern, you know, the same things 2, 3, 4 times because people liked repeating what they had to complain about. And then very calmly at the end, you just went, well, I'm saying yes, we're going to do this. And of course, it turned into one of the programs that, you know, became a staff favorite.
I think it was the #1 most favorite program that we've ever done among staff, other than Global Youth Service Day, Karen, but yeah.
And, you know, I think that saying yes comes in so many other ways. You know, I'm also thinking about, I want to say it was Atlanta during the Service Learning Conference. I was just finishing up my master's and you grabbed me after the day, you know, the last session of the day and said, hey, let's go to dinner. We need to talk. And of course I was like, what are we gonna, okay, sure. And, you know, and you basically came out and said, hey, so what do you want to do at YSA? You know, where do you want to take us? What kind of new things do you want to work on? And I think that then turned into the third of, I don't know, 7 or 8 title changes over the years. Which, you know, are basically every time I came and said, hey, I think I can do this, or I think, you know, I can spend my time working on this and that'd be a good thing for YSA to do. You went, sure, let's try it. And, you know, and that's taken me in a whole lot of different areas and learned a whole lot, observing you and, you know, communications and development and management, and, you know, and observing you in those things and working alongside you. And so I just want to say thank you for, you know, the opportunity to turn what what was originally supposed to be an 18-month temporary gig during the 08 election cycle into 14 years and counting. So.
And how many national service briefings, Mike?
Oh, 600 plus, I think.
Yeah. So you've really become the voice of YSA in so many ways, and sharing what we're doing internally with the external world to thousands and thousands of people every week. And it's still today, people say it's my favorite thing that YSA does is the national service briefing, now the youth service briefing, but you even changed the name and to better reflect what we were really doing.
Whatever idea you just said yes to.
Yeah, but you've just, you've had such a big impact on YSA and as you say, in so many different areas. And I know you continue to push those boundaries out, and it's a joy to watch you and your creativity and your passion for this work. I know coming out of your original FCCLA, I'm just sorry we never got you into one of those little red blazers, but because we could use that photo. I see Phil Piga laughing here. Phil Piga is so unimpressed that I've only been at YSA for 25 years because he's been at PBS for how many years, Phil?
Oh, it's not about me.
Oh, seriously, how long have you been at PBS?
27 years.
Yeah, so so you can't win sometimes, with folks. But anyway, you guys are great. Wendy, how long have you been at FCCLA?
Oh, I'm ashamed to say 33 years.
See, so
I don't like to talk about age, but yeah,
yeah,
it's been a while.
But you add 14 to my 25, with Mike, and you get 39, and then you add another 20 on Karen, and you get 59, almost 60 years, just the three of us at YSA. So, it's sort of, as my dad used to say, persistence trumps genius any day. And I think if nothing else, we're persistent. So here's to that. Leah, if that's a lesson to learn as our intern this semester, persistence is a great thing. And you're looking, Leah, as you look around the horn here, some very persistent people who are staying right up till the end of probably a meeting that should have ended a few minutes ago, but I appreciate you sticking.
It's a blessing to be given a focus and a passion that drives you so that every day is not work, it's another adventure. So I assume that's true for you.
Yeah, and those photos, boy, they brought back some memories. So thank you for that, Mike. I presume you dug into the archives to pull some of those. Thanks for the trip down memory lane. And the fact we get to record this too is kind of fun because you can remember and be reminded of all the fun people. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate you being with us, and we will look forward to keeping you posted on Steve's future years at YSA, however many that may be. So thank you.
Thank you for inviting. Mm-hmm.
And
thanks, all. Congrats, Steve.
Aaron, Mike, Leah, thank you. Are we having a staff meeting today, Mike, or was this a total ruse to fool me?
But right back to business, isn't it, Steve? You're right back to it.
No, really.
Thank you.
Bye, Carlitos. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Bye, Patty. Now are we having a staff meeting? Thanks, you guys. That was terrific. That was a lot of fun.
Good.
A lot of awfully nice people.
Were you surprised?
Yes, I was. I wasn't quite, some people did give me a little bit of a heads up. So Ken Bartel said, "So sorry I can't be there on Wednesday." Thanks, Ken. Best wishes, Ken Bartels. the way he signs everything. He's so funny.
Yeah, with the 200 people invited, it's kind of hard to keep it totally secret.
Yeah, yeah. But I did have wine with Diana Vive last night, and she said, "I made a gift to YSA," and I'm thinking, so. But alas, no, it was great. It was a great surprise. It was terrific. It was like my 20th on the roof.